exploring the vibrant realm of betting across Africa where excitement meets opportunity.
We have Daniel Robus, the CRO of Stay Contactable, Solomon Godwin from Africa Booming Games, Victor Sekushenko, the head of sales at Sportsbook of SOFTSWISS, and we have Hamed Rahimi, the regional manager at Africa Amusnet, and I believe we have Alan as well, Alan Weinrib, the CEO of Web Gaming Consultants. I think he's joining us. But let's just start the panel, guys. Introduce yourselves, and yeah, let's start on a debate, I think.
Good morning, and I'm so glad to be facilitating the first session of a new chapter for us in where we're putting the money. So we've got the rules that we've spoken about and the regulations, and today Daniel's going to explore where we can put some of the money. And I'm going to be looking at you guys to tell us if we had $1 million, where should we invest it? So I'm going to end the session by asking for some advice. So I'm going to ask the gents now because they haven't seen these questions. And the first question is, if you had $1 million, where would you invest it? The second question is, what should we be reading before we go into an area? So what do you wake up in your day and you read about our geography? And then the third question, the biggest mistake that we should be making when we go into Africa. Okay, so we'll get to that in a little bit. But gentlemen, I'm going to be picking from Solomon just because I saw Solomon's profile and I was thinking, wow, if you haven't linked with these guys on LinkedIn, please do that. They are leaders in this industry and pretty good. I'm privileged to be up here. So Solomon, I'm going to start with you. This surge in Africa that we're experiencing at the moment, is it a point in time? Is it a pickup from COVID? Or is this the trajectory for the next decade?
Thank you. My name is Solomon Godwin. Thank you for the question. I think Africa is still in its infancy stage. It's a market that is still evolving. But the greatest mistake that I've seen across the 54 countries of the continent is that what has succeeded in Europe, platforms that have succeeded in Europe, operators have succeeded in Europe, want to have Europe in Africa. I think that is the number one failure going into the markets. Right? I've had many people talk about localization of platform, of offerings, of content. There are huge and many things that even when you localize, you still stand a chance of failing in the continent if you fail to do these things. So it's beyond localization, it's beyond getting a local partner, it's beyond building your platform that fits the local market. Everybody seems to know everything that is needed, that is required to succeed in the continent. Nobody is talking about what it takes to fail in the continent. I think that is where the problem actually lies, right? We seem to know, you go to LinkedIn, you meet with consultancy, they seem to give you 100,000 solutions on what is required to succeed in the continent. They never tell you why you are failing and those that have failed, what they failed to do that resulted in their failure.
Thanks, Solomon. Hamed, tough question for you. Is government helping or hindering in these 54 countries for us to expand our businesses?
My name is Hamed, Regional Manager Africa for Amusnet. Tough question indeed.
Speak into the mic. People want to hear the tough questions.
Yeah, true. I think the government is helping. You know, they understand that, like you already mentioned, this is a wave that is, since COVID started to pick up, and they are, at the beginning, maybe they were a little bit like protective, but now they are adaptive. So I see, especially in South Africa, Western Cape is a leading regulatory, like they take initiative, they try to adapt with the new new wave that is coming, and the other countries, they follow. So I think it's, as a whole, they are being open-minded, so to say.
That's interesting. From our audience, it's interesting to see how many countries are represented here and how many differences we'll get for the feeling for regulation. We heard in the previous session about regulation planning for the future, and it would be interesting for you to note where your regulation's going and how do we influence it as industry players. Are we adding to it, or are we being a hindrance to it? And when we get Victor over here, Victor, you clearly were not born in Cape Town. No, he wasn't.
I wasn't.
He wasn't born in. Yeah, so Victor, it's a tough question to ask for you how local employees help, but I'm going to ask you from a partner perspective, and I'll give you the mic now. What role do you see staff playing in the success of our companies if we've got the regulation, we've got the will from government, we want the job creation, and how do you see external players assisting in the employee retention and development? Thanks, Solomon.
Thanks a lot for the question. My name is Victor, head of sales for SOFTSWISS Sportsbook. Great question, by the way. And yeah, speaking about regulations, obviously they differ from country to country, but we spoke about that already. Once that's in place, we need to concentrate on most vital thing for each operator, on the players themselves, right? And it's not only about following the trends. Sometimes you need to bring up something new, disrupt, but you just cannot ignore some tendencies. For instance, speaking about Africa in general, South Africa in particular, it's the simplicity of play, definitely clear betting offerings, and promoting this type of gaming. Obviously, there is an increase in casino bets, as we know. This is kind of a gray area still, because in many countries only sports betting is actually regulated, but more and more players lean towards that. From there, there's a surge and a real good increase in the games like Crash games with their straightforward and simplistic mechanics that allow players to bet fast and then get rewarded quickly enough. And yeah, basically that's the whole lot of it. You gotta cater to the players and bring them what they need, then they will retain.
And what do we do with our employees to make sure they're on that trajectory, which is to cater to the players? Solomon, what has been your secret to success of creating African employees that are based on African players that can grow with us and then take over the world of gaming?
I think it begins with part of the challenges, like I mentioned earlier, that I've seen in the continent, is that tier one operators in the continent do not, or new entrants into the market in the continent come in with a strategy. Wherever they are coming from, it could be Europe, it could be Asia, but when they come into the continent, they are coming in with a strategy. As soon as they assemble the theme, they at a point abandon their strategy because they want to sort of copy from tier one leading operators in the country. And I think it's the greatest disaster that I've seen happen in the continent. If you are coming into the continent and there are things that you have set out to achieve and you came in with your strategy, number one thing, you have to be patient with it. Again, that is where employee training comes in. You have to just be patient with your strategy. You must believe in what you are set out to do, not looking to the national tier one operator in each country. You're trying to find out what they are doing, how the US on their platform is positioned, and you want to copy-paste. Most often than not, it doesn't work. The behavioral character of Panthers in the continent is they stick with who they know, right? So if you are able to build that loyalty and trust, in the long term, you will definitely make progress in the continent. Again, it begins with believing not just in your strategy, your team is part of it. And if you believe in your team, you definitely train, retrain, locally, with the local knowledge, with the resources available locally, and I think you will succeed.
It's such an important part of this, which is your team that's going to be customer facing and frontward facing, and I think we're going to touch on that a lot over the next couple of days.
Yeah, I think someone raised a concern sometime 2 weeks ago, how that global tier 1 operators operating in the continent have their CS team in Europe. So the downtime to resolving complaint of Panthers is a bit high compared to operators that have their CS team in the continent. So what do you set out to achieve as an operator? I think it starts from there.
Okay. And operating in Lagos is different from operating in London.
Absolutely. Lagos, they can speak the local language, they can speak the local dialect, they understand the people, they understand how they know how to react to the Panthers. They know when Panthers are agitated, when winnings are not paid on time. They know the right word, they know the right conversation, they know how to hold the right conversation. The list is endless. So it makes practical sense to domesticate your operations in the continent, in the country where you are operating, not just domesticating your operations, again, believing in the local professionals we have. We have countless professionals. Again, I know they are limited, but again, it begins with what you are set out to do as an operator. Are you willing to invest? Are you willing to train them? Are you willing to empower them to deliver results?
Hamid, when you are looking at your Africa strategy, there's obviously an east-west, north-south bias. Do you see that the gamers, that the people we're trying to reach are very different in these areas? And what is the biggest difference that you've seen?
True, they are very different in different areas. But as a company, if you want to enter the African market, I always say, think global, but act local. You know, like Solomon said earlier, localization is pretty important when you want to, let's say, enter Kenyan market than in South Africa. But not only localization that is important, it's also culturalization. You need to adapt to the culture of that country, that territory that you want to enter. There it goes. So yes, we have different markets, different strategies. The idea as a whole is the same, but in terms of player, if you adopt the culture of the market that you want to enter, then it's gonna help your business in that market, basically.
We're seeing a lot of change in Africa at the moment. Some negative, some positive. We are seeing a lot of disruption that's going on, a lot of opportunity coming out of that. Where do you see we can take advantage of that, Victor? Where are you spending the next quarter focusing as an organization?
Right, that's a good question as well. So basically, you need to take a look at the player profile. Like the African average player right now is a younger player than it used to be, yeah? Right now it's from 18 to 35 with like 80-90% of them being under 25. They are fast-paced technology adapters, a lot of them urban dwellers. So a lot of betting is happening online, obviously. More and more youth is dragged into that because of different parameters, because of some power outages or just technology adoption. They go in for mobile betting mostly. It's the way we see it is the industry that's being driven by mobile betting a lot. So you need to concentrate on adapting your offering, it being quite simple and just easy to use, user-friendly interfaces and such. Speaking about the most modern trends, like global ones, but Africa embraces them very well. In terms of betting, we see the increase in popularity in esports, in fantasy sports, which is really huge in Europe and Northern America, but Africa is no different in this regard. So if newcomers to the market can embrace that and squeeze it, this opportunity can bring a lot of new player base and a lot of opportunities to earn money.
I could see, Solomon, you were chomping to answer there. Do you want to add on? Come on, Solomon, I saw you wanted. What's the difference that you're seeing east, west, north, south from new entrants coming in here? What is the different profile of the player that you are seeing?
Okay, last year I was in Morocco and someone made a presentation. He said, in terms of payouts, Morocco is the largest market in the continent after South Africa.
What?
Now, but again, it's a very difficult market.
Yeah.
Regulation is non-existent. A monopoly license was issued to a single operator. But again, for me, my advice would be for any investor looking to come into the continent, you should look at considering the West Africa and East Africa, any of these South Africa, no doubt, is the leading market in the continent. But again, you don't just come into South Africa and get things going, right? I would recommend that perhaps you pick a market from the East or West Africa, understand the continent, understand what localization means, understand what it means to work with the local guys in the continent, then you can begin to look into countries like South Africa. Because if you have the interest of the continent at heart to do business, you should consider at some point having a business in this country, right? That makes natural sense. It's the most robust country in the continent in terms of game offering, in terms of regulation, in terms of Panthers' appetite to gamble, right? So you can't take it that from South Africa. But again, it's not a market.
Don't you just love how he's punting South Africa? All the South Africans in the room, we should buy him a drink. We just want, and we never have power outages here, Victor. That doesn't happen, does it? Africa's open for business, you know, and I think that starting in South Africa is a good place to start. But when you are looking at South Africa, you're looking for my cheat notes. Thank you. I dropped my notes. When you are looking at Africa and you've got a solid foundation in one of the big seven, we talk of the big seven countries, who do you think's an exciting country that you are looking at from your perspective? Oh, you can go, Solomon. You can go. I was actually putting it on, but that's fine.
I think each market specifically comes with its challenges, right? Take Nigeria, where I came from, for example. We've got 36 states in the Federation and the FCT, which is the federal capital. By law, constitutionally, every state of these 36 states of the Federation is empowered to issue a gaming license. Because gambling as it were, is in the concurrent list that empowers even the local governments in the Federation to issue a gambling license. So I have an operator that is operating in Nigeria today with a local government issued gambling license. So you've got Lagos State, you've got almost all the states, they are empowered by law constitutionally to issue a gambling license. But again, that is where the difficulties come in. DSTV will not listen to you if you want to run an advert with a state-owned license, not even a Lagos license, because they want you to hold a national license, right? So, not to be biased, I would recommend that if you want to start, like I said earlier, coming through the West or the East African country. For the West African country, I would consider Nigeria, Ghana, Cameroon. For the East African country, I would consider Tanzania, Ethiopia. I don't want to mention Kenya, I'm sorry.
Hamid, do you want to add to that, or should I give you a new question?
No, he mentioned basically everything that, you know, like there is about Africa as a continent. I think there is untapped potential in every individual country market in Africa, and I just want to add Ghana. Oh, yeah, okay.
He always. Then I've got a new question for you. We've got the punter in from a sports betting perspective. Most punters are comfortable in sports betting. How do we move them into the plethora of services we offer? What is a good strategy to get someone and keep someone that they are playing with us better, more and more frequently?
It comes through educational, like we have us as a game provider and the operators, sorry.
They want to hear your voice. You're going to burst into song any moment.
So us as operators and us as game providers and we have the operators and the regulator. We all need to help each other to educate the punter. We also need to educate ourselves how we can direct this punter to bet healthy, responsibly, and more frequently.
Okay, great. I'm going to ask you the same question, Victor. What kind of strategy can we employ to drive traffic from sports betting to casino games? Casino games getting a little bit deeper into the gaming industry. How do we drive that?
Right, so I would agree with everything that Hamed said, but also add a little bit on top. So the way I see it is a good idea to promote these products simultaneously and apply some cross-promotional campaigns where, for instance, punters get some free spins in casino games for placing bets and vice versa. So also gamification is key. It's really big in other markets and we believe it's gonna also be a big thing in Africa quite soon. So from there's a lot of tools that can be used to promote both casinos, games and sports. For instance, jackpot campaigns that can be drawn from both sports bets and betting on slots, etc. And yeah, also providing some clarity, some straightforward VIP programs where you just communicate with the players, being open with them, and providing them with the idea that casino games can be also very fast-paced, entertaining, and interesting for the player.
Excellent.
I just wanted to share an encounter I had the other day. I was in an Uber, and I think it was Man City versus Liverpool, and Man City scored. And he was so happy, and he was like, yeah. I'm like, what is it? Are you betting on that? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, and do you like play also online casino? And he's like, no. This is also a little bit culture here. People are used to betting on sport. Betting, to them, it means like sport betting. So we need, like I said earlier, education and also cross promotion, etc. could help too.
So we've got to change the stigma associated with casino betting, because sports betting's not really gambling, it's betting.
It's betting.
Okay, I get that.
Yeah. I think the greatest fear for operators is cannibalization. They think offering RNG-based games will cannibalize football betting, sports betting revenue. I mean, if I have a country manager that says so, I will fire him the next day. Seriously. Because again, we've seen aviators succeed in the continent. We've seen other RNG games succeeding in the continent. For me, keep it simple. Don't complicate it. Because we do not have enough budget for customer onboarding and education. So why design a game, why produce a game that is complicated to understand? Right? So if you keep it simple, straight to the point, African punters do not have time to waste. And they don't gamble for fun. They gamble for returns. So anything you can do to keep it simple, just do it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Don't make it ambiguous. Don't complicate matters.
So Solomon just gets the mic drop of the session. African punters don't gamble for fun. They gamble for payouts. Whoa, boom. I think that brings us to the end of the session. I think we're being chased off stage right now. So I'm going to ask you, I think we got 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes left, so don't answer yet. Solomon, I want from you, what advice would you give to new entrants now? What one piece of advice? Hamed, what I want from you is what reading or what podcast or where should we be learning about our industry in Africa and external? And then from yourself, Victor, what one regulation would you change if you could change any regulation out there, what would it be? So I'm going to actually start with Hamid because mic drop man over there is going to finish. So
I think in Africa, what actually is already happening is they are taking very good example of other regulated market, and they are like implementing it here. A little bit tweak to adjust it for the African market. But I think, that, like I said earlier, they are very open-minded, and they take advice from other regulation. They also, like, try to implement the same with a little bit of African tweak.
thank you. Okay, what are you reading then? Because he didn't answer his question. Where should we go to learn more about our industry, and what's your go-to reading source?
Well, it's the usual ones, and I was hoping for my question, really.
Go on your question as well.
Yeah. So my question was about regulations and what would I suggest to change. Well, it's really all about sports betting in a lot of jurisdictions, especially in South Africa. So my suggestion would be simplify the way into market for casino games. This is crucial, this is key. We've seen it in a lot of markets, betting first markets, the likes of Latin America, where casino took over eventually. And I think this is the same is going to happen in Africa in some time. So right now we need a clear path for casino games to re-enter these jurisdictions.
Thank you. And you get the last word, Solomon. What advice would you give to new entrants before we close?
Yeah, basically, I mean, it's simple. Before coming in, you believed in what you are coming into the continent to do. Stick with it.
Stick with it. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This has been really great. I hope you have a good day. And I'm Daniel, signing off.